So now you just easy bar. Don't even need the grinder. Righto. That's cut. Now I'm just gonna go have a look at how I can make this piece of pipe actually fit up in this space. So I think I'll start off by kind of, that's gonna be pretty straight. I think I'm gonna make one bend in about there, and then I'm gonna pie cut to make that bend and then come down here. And obviously finish it off with an angular cut to kind of join onto that nicely. But yeah, I'm just gonna mark this up and kind of bend this pipe. So this is the pipe bender here. It's pretty basic. It's just a 2-ton jack with like a couple different types of pipe. Like this one's obviously the 32 nominal bore pipe setting. And these are just pinholes here. You can stretch out the other pieces. They just retain it, and that's what it bends, uses leverage for. So I'm gonna mark this one up on whatever distance that was. Just probably hit it somewhere like here. And then, yeah, I'm gonna use that pipe bender, just start bending it. And I think before that though, I'm just gonna cut another one of these out. Okay, so I've cut out my 2 lengths of pipe, but I've just started on this one, and I thought I'd just stop before I go too far and show how it's done. So I recommend drawing a line, a straight line down this length of pipe, and then marking with rings where you actually want to bend it. And the way that I draw a straight line is you can kind of see there's natural, look really close, there's one along here. There's natural lines just on the pipe. Use them for a guide, and then use the old trick where you just use this finger as a spacer, hold the paint pen and just glide it like that. But then what I do is I normally just take it up to the car, kind of look at it with my hand, and then draw, just using my eyes and paint pen, bit of an estimate. Draw a ring, take it down to the bender, depending if it's a really kind of big, like curvy, long, if it's a really big curvy long bend, like up on the roof there, then I'll take the pins a bit further apart. And if it's a really kind of really tight bend, or if I just want to make a small adjustment, I'll put the pins in it a little bit closer, that kind of thing. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to do it, but it's been working for me. And then for really tight corners, like going around the sill where you've got like a corner like that, I've been using pie cuts. So take triangles out, triangle, 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 and it all bends a lot tighter, and that way you don't get a crinkle in the pipe. Because if you were to try and bend it at that kind of a angle, then what you'd actually end up with is this would bend around, but it also kink out and stretch out this part of the pipe right here. So you don't want to do that. That's why I use pie cuts for really tight stuff. But the bend is good for swaying out the banana-y kind of section there. And yeah, so now I've kind of got that in. You just hold it up to the car by hand and see if it looks good, because look, you're working with metal ultimately. You can weld and bog and paint and make everything look nice, but you want to get it to follow the body line as much as possible. So now I've got that relatively close. Now I'm going to actually come over here, get the 4-inch and start take about 20 mil, because the outside diameter of the pipe is 42 millimeters, I think. So that is actually 20 mil sticking out there. So what you do is measure in 20 mil about there somewhere, mark that with a paint pen, start taking in all this inside stuff. I want to leave this outside corner, this outside, all this stuff. I just want to take out all that is my hand is touching at the moment. So take out all that, 20 mil in, and I snapped my die grinded last disc. So now I'm just using the 4-inch. It'll be a bit harder to get in those tight spots, but oh well, I'll work something out. And then that's when I'll make the pie cuts, and I'll show you how to do those pie cuts and how to kind of estimate in a bit after I cut out that section. Alright, so now I'm just going to come here, tape measure, paint pen, cap of paint pen, stick that somewhere. I'm just going to kind of do a rough estimate. It doesn't have to be perfect because you might end up taking material out of it anyway. So let's go about 20 mil. Yep, looks about right there. And you only need like a little dot. See something that small? If you want to put a grinder through that, I can just take the grinder around and just follow that same line. Doesn't have to be perfectly precise and all that. So yeah, we'll start cutting that now. Oops. Got the wrong disc on. Hang on, it's gotta swap it back to a cutting disc. Right, so now this is cut, and I'll show you what I've done here. So I managed to work the grinder in up here, and eventually got all that cut out. And then it got to this part, and I'll show you on the other side really quickly. It's actually different to the rest of the thing. There's like a plastic clip in here. So in there you can see, and this is the other side, that's a plastic clip in there to retain this little aluminium sliding thing. I think it's for like a roof rack. I don't know what it's for. Anyway, what I did was I cut up it like that, and then you can kind of see where I've accidentally cut a bit too far, but I cut these are actually down here. So I've grabbed them and bent them up like this, so now that's a straight edge. So when my pipe comes through over here, I should be able to weld and bog on top of that and make that look like a factory edge. And then I'll have to actually seal up in all this kind of thing, which I'll work that out somehow. I've got plenty of sheet steel to use. So right now I think I'm gonna do the other side, and then we're gonna head back to the bending that pipe and cutting out pipe. Right, so now both of those seals are cut out and they fit pipe in them. Now I'm gonna actually make some pie cuts. So I think they'll be about here. I'll have to go show you how I do that. So what I like to do is just hold it. So I've marked the middle there with the paint pen. I just hold it out here. You can see that it's kind of set up there already. But make the first pie cut, kind of just look at it and think, yeah, right. So just by looking at it, so I'm just gonna make one right here. What you do is, so I'm just holding my finger on the mark there because I need to put a paint pen mark on it or something like that. But what you want to do is just make a small cut at the start, bend it, put it up, see what it looks like, and slowly take your cut bigger and bigger. I use a 9-inch for it because it's just quick and easy and that kind of thing. But obviously if you're doing a smaller pipe, or if you're doing like other stuff, any other material that's smaller, you just want to use like a basic 4-inch or something. What I could do is, like as an option, which I'm not going to, is actually lobster back it, they call it. And that's when you kind of take tapered sections, like as in a section that starts here, gets smaller, and you take those kind of sections out of the pipe, and then you stack them on top of each other, and it makes a curve, like it will curl around. And when you weld it, it looks really nice. It looks like, you see that a lot on like stainless stuff. I'm sure you would have seen it somewhere. But yeah, so now I'll mark that up with a paint pen, make a small pie cut, bend it, and then just see how it looks like on the car. Okay, so now I've just made a couple little pie cuts. You can see which ones are really big bend. So I took about that much out of these two here. So that's a really sharp kind of bend. This one was a similar amount, not as much though, but it pretty much fits, and it rolls around the corner of that sill. Now what I'm going to do is just put 2 more cuts right here and here, just the thickness of the grinding disc, and that's like 2 or 3 mil I think. So just here and here, and that'll just make it a bit smooth, and it won't be as an aggressive angle as that is. And then after that, we should be able to keep this pipe relatively straight, because that'll be going down the side of that door. and then I'll have to cut the tip at an angle to weld onto that cap that I just welded on there. So as you can see, it's getting a bit dark now, and I think after this one I'm gonna call it a day, come back tomorrow and finish the next one, and then weld them onto the tips, tack up the roof, and I'll show you what I'm gonna do there, because there's a bit of technical stuff there to do. And then I should be starting to actually fill in the doors with sheet, which I've got right there. And then, yeah, I think that roll bar will be pretty much done almost. So I'll finish this up, get it looking nice, and then come back. Right, so I've just finished pie cutting that piece of pipe all down there. I've just welded it all up. I've put a small bend in here, so I've bent about there, there and there, just with the pins on the pipe bender as close as they would go. So it's just put a slight curve in it. I've just welded that up. I'm going to grind it all back flat because, you know, it has to be up there. All my bends that I make, I mark them with lines. I kind of just freestyled it there. But so I went and took the bend out of this one because it was too bent. So now what I'm going to do is grind that back, and I'm going to sit it up there in the car, tack it in place, and then make the next one. And then when they meet in the middle, I'm going to tack them together in the middle. So then after that, that'll be pretty much the roll bar done. That's when I'm going to start filling in the doors with sheet steel and filling in down these sills. I can only have it tacked up for now though. But another thing that I haven't really said, I don't think, is that I was going to put the quarter glass out of this passenger side window. I was going to get it and put it up in there, but I think with this rolled edge, it's already produced a lot of work already. So for now, I think I'm just going to keep it how it is, and I'm just going to put steel in there, fill that up. So I just finished that pipe, grinded it up, sat it over there. So a little technique that I've worked out is this bar will fit in that door. It fits out the other side. So basically I just use the same door for both of the these pieces, and obviously they're the same frame, just reflected. You just got to flip it around, it fits in that door perfectly. If you've made it, well, that's of course. But that's just a little tip that I've found when doing this kind of stuff. If you go back the second time, you know how many pie cuts or how many bends you have to make to get that shape. And I think that applies for everything. If you're bending pipe or doing mirror kind of image stuff, that if you just do two on the same side and then you just flip one of them, yeah, and it's just sitting over there now. So I'm going to start doing this next one, and they're the exact same length of pipe, it's the exact same process, so you won't see much of this. I don't know if I've already showed, I've just cut this out, and that's because this sticks in a bit and like that. So I want the pipe to pass through here. I can cover that up with weld and bog and all that. So in there is not a massive problem. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna go do them. And then I'm gonna tack them all up in here. And then I'm gonna start moving on to this sheet in here. Actually, after I weld the other side, I still haven't welded the bottom half of that door. So I've done those ones, done that one, done the top one on the other side. I've done the top one on the other side, but I haven't done this one on the other side. But yeah, I'll get that done. So let's just do that pipe then. And it's the same process. I'm probably end up doing a couple of pie cuts, and might be a little bit different, but they should be pretty much the same. Right, so I've just finished getting all this done, all grinded off there, welded, just tacked it right in the middle there. And what I've actually done is this side, and they actually come up to a bit of a point. So like that's the way I've built them to do that. But they both look very similar. Like I put them on the ground, one on top of the other, they're both pretty much exactly the same. Kind of envisage that now, like that's kind of roughly what it should look like anyway, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I'll just get all that cleaned up, see if I can work something out. Okay, so she's now in there, and you know, pretty good. And I reckon this looks really good now. I'm actually going to use a lot of cardboard here to trace it out, then actually go to the sheet metal and cut it out, because you know, it's a quicker, easier way. You can experiment a lot with cardboard using like sheet metal and stuff. So I've just got that tacked in there for now, and it's also just kind of tacked at the tip there, but I'm going to leave it that way, and that's pretty much this video done. So next video I'm going to be hitting up all a lot of sheet metal stuff, like kind of filling in those gaps. I've got to fill in the inside of the doors. So like when you open the door up, this kind of thing right down here, I've got to fill all of that with sheet metal and weld it up, make it look really nice, seal it off from the outside. Thanks for watching. Time between now and this video could be a while, but see how I go. Anyway, catch you later.